like, oh no, the Earth is a globe. If it's a globe, everyone in Australia is walking around upside down, mate.
Fake news.
Fake news. Why doesn't the ocean just fall into the sky then?
Because gravity's bullshit.
People are so dumb.
They're so dumb.
It's just a cough.
Yeah, right. And the Earth is flat.
Treat your cough seriously with Robitussin CF Max. Nothing lasts longer and treats more symptoms for your cough, cold, and flu. Robitussin, because it's never just a cough.
Flat Earth expert Mark Sargent thinks the moon landing was a hoax.
Technically, the moon itself is a hoax.
Right, but betting with Sportsbet's new iPhone app?
I could do this standing on my head.
Thanks, Gravity. Sportsbet's new iPhone app. It's foolproof.
Hold on. I know how we're different. Do you believe the Earth is flat?
I know it's flat. I walk on it.
Holy
Do you think the Earth is flat, Snoop? What do you think?
It's a flat world after all.
Smoke weed every day. Smoke weed every day. Smoke weed every day. Smoking cigarettes and watching Captain Plague. And I don't tell me I've nothing to do. It's good to see you. I must go. I know I must go.
Broadcasting straight to you from a large spaceship currently at war with mainstream science. Meanwhile, the peanut gallery of the future is reading its history books. The day the Ministry of Safety saved the world by ensuring that all people think the proper way. The day the people received their aid from the government that saved them from starvation. Confused a little bit? These are the facts that have happened this year. Well, remember, history is written by the winners, so unless you write down and teach what is really going on, lies will become true history. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Strange World, where the truth is often stranger than fiction. I'm your host, Mark Sargent, the creator of Flat Earth Clues, which proposes that all of us are living inside a Truman Show enclosed structure thousands of miles wide. Check it out at enclosedworld.com or just Google Flat Earth Clues. If you can't find it, well, you're just not very good at the internet. For those of you listening to this on YouTube and you want to hear the show live as it happens, please go to Truth Frequency Radio for this current schedule. Currently, this show is on Tuesday nights at 7 Pacific, 10 Eastern, and yes, Caroline, if it is not June 9th, in the year of our Lord 2020, then you are listening to a rerun. Quote of the day goes exactly like this: I do know that the slickest way to lie is to tell the right amount of truth, then shut up. Who said that? Robert A. Heinlein? The Mark Sargent 2020 challenge is in effect. This is my personal declaration of war against mainstream science. I, Mark Sargent, put forth a challenge to any university, foreign or domestic, to loan me a self-contained spacesuit, put me in a vacuum chamber, and pull the switch. Find out what happens. For more information, please check out Flat Earth Clues Part 13, The Lost Nail. And yeah, my co-host, she's lovely. She's sometimes sassy, and she's always lethal. And she's never at a protest. Is Karen B. What's going on, Karen?
No protesting over here, that's for sure.
Still staying safe?
Yeah, a whole lot of yard work.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's about it?
Lots of yard work.
Hey, it's
Country
better,
man. I
it's
do
better,
yard.
better than tear gas.
That's right.
Yeah.
Getting farm fit.
Nice. Hey, Karen, when you wake up to the flat earth reality, it can be a lonely place. Talking with friends and family can become contentious and often doesn't end well. Sometimes with rubber bullets. There is nothing more exciting than waking up a family member or close friend from the globe lie. One of the best ways to do this is by gifting the Flat Earth Sun, Moon, and Zodiac Clock app, and then asking them to take the Flat Earth Clock Challenge. Watch the featured video every day for 2 weeks and see what happens. My guess is you'll become immune to just about everything. It'll be the best $2.99 you ever spent. Tell you what, let's get right into the monologue. Normally, I would chit chat with you a little more, Karen, but I don't want to cut it close with the music this time because last time I was running straight into the break and I was like snipping out sentences in my head like all over the place. Tonight's monologue is going to be called Truths You Didn't Know But Secretly Suspected. It's going into my overall conspiracy mantra. Yes, I am going to get into things just briefly, like Bigfoot and aliens and Loch Ness Monster and stuff like that. But I'm going to start out with kind of a brief American history lesson. So, guys, don't fall asleep or anything. But if you want to go up and get a drink, now would be the time because it's going to take about 15 minutes. Ready?
You're going to get into Bigfoot?
I am. Just a little bit. I'm just going to state that, this is my belief. And I encourage people to call in tonight and tell me what they kind of believe in. And you and I are going to talk about what you kind of believe in. But this is my tech. You guys are going to learn a little bit more about me. Ready?
Excellent.
There we go.
Muting.
So this rant is called Truths You Didn't Know But Secretly Suspected. Every month I get asked, what do you believe in? And by that I mean, what other conspiracies have caught your interest? I'd like to first qualify my answers with a few things. To start, I'd like to state for the record that I have always loved my home country of America. This place has allowed me to do some amazing things over the years. The United States is truly great. It is, however, not without its flaws. There are several 800-pound gorillas in the room, and they need to be addressed. Is the U.S. the greatest empire that ever was? No. It is the Michael Jordan of empires. It's flashy, and it puts on a great show, but it is not the greatest empire. People cheered Jordan as he entered their arena because he was the greatest showman in the history of basketball. The greatest player was Wilt Chamberlain, and he was booed when he entered the arena because you could not stop him. He averaged 50 points a game every night, and there was nothing you could do about it. The Wilt Chamberlain of our civilization was, of course, the Roman Empire. They were better than the United States, not just because they conquered for 1,000 years. They were better because they were transparent with the people. The general public expected them to conquer, and they were proud of it. They expected domination, and they got it time and time again. America does some very controversial things for the empire, but paints a different picture for the people, keeping them somewhat innocent, and in doing so, creates interesting webs of conspiracies. We are the good guys, but we are founded on a series of wars that have guided our fate for almost 250 years. I'm going to rattle off as many of the relevant truths as I can related to how we became the greatest show on Flat Earth. None of them are secret, and I'll try to keep most under a paragraph. America didn't win its freedom because the colonists kicked out the British. It was just another part of a long-time rivalry between England and France. After the British left the first time, France sold us most of the United States. It was called the Louisiana Purchase. The British-French War continued in Europe until Napoleon finally lost at Waterloo, and the British tried to take America back a second time in the War of 1812. Hitting the southern coast and finally losing at the Battle of New Orleans. It's why Andrew Jackson is on the $20 bill. A short time later, the U.S. sacrificed Fort Alamo to the Mexican army, killing several hundred men, including Jim Bowie and Davy Crockett. Yes, he was a real guy, not just something created by Disney. It started the Mexican-American War, or what I call the greatest land grab ever. Not sending reinforcements and letting the Alamo burn to the ground got us Texas, New Mexico, Arizona, and California. One of the big reasons we have a Mexican immigration problem is, well, they used to live here. Right after that, and the dust settled, England tried to take the U.S. a third and final time in what is now known as the American Civil War. Oh, you thought that whole blue and gray brother versus brother thing was about slavery. Think again. Where do you think the South got all its weapons? Most of the Southern Navy were ships built in England. They had advisors everywhere. The plan was perfect. Aid the South, let the two sides battle it out, then take back everything. Would have worked, too, until Lincoln asked Russia to keep England out of the fight, and they did. The South lost in 5 years. Have your doubts? Look up a ship called the CSS Alabama. That threat will keep you going for a while. The U.S. had to rebuild for a few decades, but then went right back to expanding the empire. It blew up its own battleship, the Maine, blamed Spain, and then took Puerto Rico, Guam, and the Philippines. The war hero, Teddy Roosevelt, then became president, and they put him on Mount Rushmore, if you were wondering who the guy with the glasses was. World War I was just a restructuring of Europe. World War II was another country being better at empire building than we were. I'll keep this one very short. Like the Alamo and the Maine, we sacrificed Pearl Harbor, and a day later, 1 million Americans signed up for military service. If we didn't sacrifice Pearl Harbor, everyone would be speaking German right now. Period. Korea was right after that, more years of fighting over geographic resources. After that, Vietnam. Vietnam was more empire with some drugs thrown in for good measure. We also learned that wars are best fought out of the jungle. JFK happened in the middle of that and was pretty cut and dry for me. A lone gunman defeats the entire Dallas police force and Secret Service, lands multiple headshots on the President of the United States in broad daylight, and gets away, only to be caught later because he didn't pay for a movie ticket. I could not make that up. He then is himself killed by another lone gunman who got past Dallas police and Secret Service, a lone gunman killed by a lone gunman. Talk about against the odds. That's like having a unicorn getting struck by lightning. If you believe that at face value, then I have a few bridges to sell you. Why kill JFK? Simple. He was a pain in the ass to the true powers that be, and he was going to be reelected. And his brother RFK was coming up right behind him. 16 straight years of the Kennedys in office? Not a chance. The last president with any true independent power was Dwight Eisenhower, and that was only because he was a 5-star general with military connections. Don't forget that during this Vietnam timeline, we also snuck in the entire Apollo moon program. If you've ever listened to this show before, you know my take on that. The greatest con the U.S. ever pulled off, convincing the rest of the world that we were so great, we put men on the moon. And the world in turn didn't even bother to go there themselves to confirm it. After Vietnam and Kennedy, the U.S. ran out of places to expand military. So again, a few more decades of restructuring and rebranding. Also, some space shuttles that didn't go anywhere, and grainy movies of astronauts that no one cared about because, well, it was the 80s, and everyone was having too good of a time. The Kuwait War was the beginning of the U.S. securing as many oil fields as possible, and then came 9/11. We convinced the American public that a ragtag Middle Eastern group had bypassed all civilian and state-of-the-art military defense systems, including all CIA programs, and had attacked our two most high-profile cities simultaneously using $3 box cutters. Imagine that, the two biggest buildings in America and the Pentagon successfully attacked without the aggressors firing a shot. Oh, wait. What happened to Building 7 again? Never mind that it wasn't hit by a plane or debris, or that a British television team reported that it collapsed on live TV 20 minutes before it actually collapsed. There's nothing to see here, right? What did we get for all that bad theater? Every oil well in Iraq, for starters. We also reinforced our position in Saudi Arabia and then set up shop in Afghanistan, which has become the largest heroin producer in the world. Remember the war on drugs? Yeah, we won that years ago. And by won, I mean the U.S. just took it over. Turns out we couldn't get people to stop using drugs. So the U.S. government stepped in and now maintains quality control, distribution, and even some of the manufacturing. If you are buying a street drug in 2020 that isn't marijuana, there's a pretty good chance that the CIA's fingerprints are on it somewhere. It's too bad that Colombia doesn't have a large oil field. Otherwise, we'd have boots on the ground there as well, controlling the petroleum and the cocaine. You work with what you have, I guess. And that is the short version of American history you're not going to hear about. We are the hero, and everyone else is either the villain, a victim, or an innocent bystander. Do I believe in flying saucers? Yes. But not because I watched the first 9 seasons of Ancient Aliens, and not because I was the only person to watch the TV movie Roswell with Martin Sheen, and not because I sat under the stars in Colorado for years with night vision binoculars watching them buzz overhead with their lights off. It's because I read the wiki entry on the 1561 Nuremberg event. An entire armada made up of 3 different factions does battle over a major German city for an hour. Everyone sees it, but then it fades away into history, and Roswell becomes the gold standard. The sky is full of things flying around, and I'm telling you firsthand, they're not all us. Do I believe in false flags? Seriously? Most of the American empire is based on massive false flag events. The Maine, the Alamo, Pearl Harbor, the Gulf of Tonkin. Things like Sandy Hook are just a blip by comparison. Am I being insensitive by making light of children dying at Sandy Hook? Not at all. I just can't take it seriously until someone addresses at least one of the 3 massive plot holes. The first is Robbie Parker smiling and laughing on camera before his CNN press conference the day after. Just look up Robbie Parker laughing. You'll understand. The second is the perfect kill ratio. Remember that I love statistics, and every mass shooting has a dead and wounded column. And the interesting thing is that the wounded almost always outnumber the dead. And in exactly one case, the wounded number was 0. That case is, of course, Sandy Hook. Every person that was touched by a bullet died. Hit in the shoulder, dead. Hit in the ankle, dead. You see, I shoot, and that's a problem because it's reported that the shooter fired over 150 times. Where did all the other bullets go? What you're telling me is that either the shot was always fatal or always a total miss. That has never happened in the history of mass shootings. And then there is my challenge, which has been out there for at least 3 years now. $1,000 to your PayPal account if you can show me a 10-second video of a child being carried out of that school by law enforcement. First one wins, but I'll warn you now, it doesn't exist. The whole operation went sideways because they forgot about the traffic helicopters, which showed up on the scene immediately, bypassing the roadblocks. They hovered for hours while no one came out of the school. Do you know how long it would take to evacuate 600 grade schoolers? Forever. We saw none of it. So yes, even regional events can be false flags, and I think none of them are what they first appear to be. Do I believe in Do I believe in Bigfoot? How can I not? In 2015, we finally discovered a 6-foot-tall chimpanzee species called the billy ape. How did it stay hidden for so long? Because it's really gun-shy of humans, and this is just one of many hidden species that are out there. It's called cryptozoology, and it's stunning to me that science still takes the same stance even today. Before the giant panda was discovered, science said it was a myth. Same goes for the giant anaconda. Same goes for the giant squid. The giant squid, by the way, is the apex predator of all time. The great white shark is just a fish, and the giant squids run them down and drag them to the bottom with almost no effort. How about the Loch Ness Monster and others out there in various lakes? All the actual dinosaurs died out millions of years ago, right? Look up the coelacanth fish. That's Coelacanth. Dead at least 70 million years, but they are swimming all around Africa. That's just one fish, and it blows away everything we know about the carbon dating system, which I think was weak to begin with. Heck, I even believe in what I call the Goliath cobra, a species of snake that is not only very large, but very fast. And I think explorers over the years have discovered it from time to time. But being an apex predator, the explorers didn't live long enough to make the log in their notebook. It's possible, and you know it. Not all adventure stories have a happy ending. What else can I lay out on you? Might as well address vaccines. Am I against all medicine? No. Do I understand corporations and how they protect their own interests? Yes. Did I notice that the autism rate in the United States went from 1 in 10,000 to 1 in 40? You bet I did. What's causing it? Doctors don't know, and the media does not want to talk about it. It can't be the air or food or water because all those things are regional, especially food. Many parents whose children have gotten the MMR vaccine report a high fever, convulsions, followed by different levels of autism. Who do you think the main suspect is? For me, it's MMR. I don't care if the media runs big pharma stories saying there is no connection. The families that are being destroyed want answers, and you would better give them something. Shrugging your shoulders on camera and saying it's not the vaccine, but something unknown, that's not going to convince anyone. And while we're in this arena, let's wind down with what we're in the middle of right now. The very latest conspiracy, otherwise known as the so-called pandemic. It's a psyop disguised as a medical emergency. The mortality rate is lower than household accidents, and yet the media has convinced most of the industrialized world to close shop. We've done entire shows dedicated to the virus, and honestly, it's just part of something bigger. Let's just call this one a work in progress. There are lots and lots of conspiracies out there, more that can be covered here. Some people believe in forest fairies, and others think that Elvis is still alive. I'm not convinced, but I can't just shoot them down right away. How can I? I've been doing this flat earth thing for the last 5 years. I do think it's interesting, though, that Elvis made 33 movies in his career. See what I did there? Conspiracies all around us. I have always tried to focus on the ones that affect the most people. I look at the Dow Jones, the NASDAQ, the S&P 500, and see one big game of dice. The real objective value of our entire economy is tied to how many barrels of oil we have left. And that number is one of the great kept secrets. Good luck finding it. Or that the Soviet Union collapsed a few years after Chernobyl, and the United States said we just pressured them into disbanding them through spending. Capitalism wins. Communism loses. Chernobyl was the most expensive accident in history, and the USSR ran out of money trying to contain it. But hey, we're the US, and we rarely let an opportunity like that go to waste. Eventually, it comes down to this. The world you live in is built on layers of deception. You know it's there in business, politics, sports, entertainment, journalism, science. But we all choose to believe what our comfort zone allows. We don't want to believe strange things because they are too scary or too big or often just too real. Some stories take the shine off of life. I agree. Sometimes objective reality sucks. For me, I try to find the silver lining. I find all of this very interesting, which, let's face it, is almost always better than boring. So those are just some of the things I believe. If you have the time, I'd enjoy hearing what beliefs you have. Look up my contact info and let me know. In the meantime, I'll end this rant with a familiar quote from a Scottish author who sums up the silver lining of all conspiracies, that it makes life more complex, more rich, and far more interesting. I'm sure you've heard it. Oh, what a tangled web we weave when first we practice to deceive. And there you go. That's my rant. And we still have a few minutes left. Go figure.
That was another epic rant there.
Thank you.
Mr. Sergeant.
Well, hey. I try to correct.
Mr. Sergeant.
So, but let's talk about one of your favorites, Bigfoot. I have never, ever, people say, oh, Karen believes in Bigfoot. And I just come back and say, are you kidding? There's so many things. I mean, Bigfoot is just one of many creatures out there that people didn't used to believe in. And because we've discovered them all? Come on.
When Bigfoot revealed themselves to me was right about the time when I thought, maybe they just don't exist, because I grew up in California and I grew up going to the Tahoe Mountains and I never had any encounters. And that is like ground zero over there. Grew up hearing the stories, watching lots of stuff, and I really just was always very intrigued. And I just thought, maybe it's just not, I don't know. Because nothing ever happened. Right. Then I moved to North Carolina, and then I lived in the woods, and I was surrounded by very thick woods. And boy, oh boy, it sure didn't take long. It sure didn't take long.
Nice. Nice. Yeah. I mean, again, it's one of those things about science that drives me insane. It's like, nope, doesn't exist, doesn't exist. Until we have one in a cage, it doesn't exist. Absolutely does not. And again, the giant panda, which one of my favorites. Like, are you kidding? They're cute and cuddly, but they also are shy. Anything that's shy of people is tough to catch. And from what I can tell, whatever Bigfoot, Sasquatch, Yeti, abominable snowman, whatever, different versions there are things that have been really good about not being around people. But
when it comes to Bigfoot, it's not just they're shy. They avoid people on purpose and for good reason.
Sure.
What happens whenever people come into contact with these creatures? Oh, I start screaming, oh my God, and they're like shooting their guns, like freaking out.
Oh,
right?
Yeah.
So why wouldn't they avoid us?
Absolutely. I mean, you've heard me. It's like, look, we are a dangerous. I mean, we make all these movies about, beings coming to our world. It's like, oh yeah, human beings shouldn't go anywhere because they're too savage. Why do you think we write that? We're our own worst critics. We're terrible.
But they're also highly intelligent. I mean, we're talking about a people here. This is not some relic ape. I don't care what anybody thinks. This isn't a orangutan. It's not a gorilla. This is more than that, much more than that. And the only way you will ever be convinced of that is if you encounter one yourself. That's just all there is to it. And I'm never going to convince anybody, and I don't try to convince.
No.
I'm just like, hey man, this is what it is. This is what I experienced. You can believe it or you cannot. Someday you may learn, someday you may not.
I call them hippies of the forest.
They are, well,
they're hairy, they smell bad, they're have weird social habits. I mean, that's why I see them. I part of me thinks that they're like leftovers from a prehistoric Woodstock conference, festival.
Well, I guess, yeah.
You know what I mean. I'm being glib when I say that.
It's a very simplified way of saying it, but yeah, they live basically in complete symbiosis with this and nature. I mean, they know how to move in and out of it completely undetected.
Yeah, absolutely.
They can be right next to you and you would never know.
There you go.
That's why I say, Bigfoot, you don't find Bigfoot, Bigfoot finds you.
Nice. Okay, we'll talk about it as soon as we come back, okay? 3 minutes. Don't go anywhere, guys. That includes any Bigfoot that are listening.
No hate, no hype, no fear. We are TFR. Frequency Radio.
Welcome back to Strange World. It's you, me, Karen B. And yeah, that was Joe Jackson stepping out from his album, Night and Day. Peanut Gallery made sure I got that out this time. Hey, Karen, I wanted to ask you real fast because there's some, the headlines have been coming fast and furious over the last week, and I wanted your comments on a couple of them. First was the canceling today of Cops. Finally, after 31 years. It's been on for since 1989. Appropriate or not appropriate, you think?
I'm going to be honest. I didn't know that Cops was still an active thing. I
Really?
thought was already done. I thought that was like a thing from the 90s.
Yeah, it was one of those long. Well, for one, it was one of the first reality shows that was out there.
Yeah, I remember watching it back in the day, but I mean, I haven't watched it in well over a decade. Like, honestly, I didn't know that they were still recording cops.
Wow.
I didn't know.
Hey,
But
Peanut, are you
TV,
picking
that
up a little bit of distortion with Karen's voice, by the way?
is it
Getting feedback from Karen. Karen, drop off for like 5 seconds, then join back real
Okay.
fast. While she's dropping off real fast, I also want to mention the other headline, which just drove me insane, which was, and it's not the first time I've heard this, and that was the removing of, they're redoing Looney Tunes. And they decided during this remake of Looney Tunes that they were going to get rid of Elmer Fudd's gun, his shotgun, his hunting shotgun. So now when he's chasing people around in the cartoon, he's using a scythe, like the Grim Reaper. And that's not just the only thing they're doing. They're also pulling away Yosemite Sam's revolvers. Remember, he was packing 2 of them on his hip. They're getting rid of those as well. And the reason why I mention this is it's not the first time this has happened in media. The first person to do it retroactively in media was Steven Spielberg, of all people. I don't know he was so anti-guns in his movies, it just drove me insane. But the biggest thing he did was during the early 1980s movie E.T., when the federal agents were chasing all the kids on their bicycles, and some of them were carrying guns and a couple were carrying shotguns and stuff. He actually, when the computer technology got better in the late 90s, about the time when George Lucas was making tweaks to Star Wars, he removed the guns out of the federal agents' hands and replaced them with radios. And I thought that was stunning. So anyway, Karen, you back? Is Karen back? Karen's not back. Peanut Gallery, help me out here. Is Peanut Gallery still there? Peanut Gallery? Okay, now I can hear you.
Okay.
Okay. Did you catch my thing on Elmer Fudd and Yosemite Sam?
I heard you talking about what Yosemite Sam lost his 6-shooters?
Yeah. So they're redoing Looney Tunes for another network, and they are they're removing all the firearms from the cartoons. It's like, and so Elmer Fudd, he's a hunter, but he's hunting with like a Grim Reaper scythe. And I don't know what they're replacing Yosemite's revolvers with, but they're leaving in the dynamite and all the explosives, but they're removing the guns. And it's like, wow, just stunning.
Really?
Yeah, I could not make it up. I don't know what is happening out there right now, but everyone's going off the freaking deep end.
Elmer Fudd has a scythe?
Yeah, I've seen screenshots of it. Actually, real things, because chasing the bunny around with a Grim Reaper scythe is less violent. I mean, cartoons, that's all cartoons are, basically, are violence. We invented them. We invented all the great cartoons, and everything from Wile E. Coyote, who mostly used explosives. Yeah, there's the story. It was put in your thing. Yeah, Looney Tunes banishes. I tell you, the original creators, which are long gone now, I'm sure they'd be rolling over in their graves.
Wow.
Yeah. No. So anyway. So the phone number to call in, by the way, tonight, 213-233-3998. That's 213-233-3998. And, don't be shy. Tell us what you believe in. Tell us what your, what your big thing is, other than flat Earth, of course. You can't just say flat Earth because that's too easy.
Did you know, Mark,
No, I didn't.
that
What?
Now You See TV thinks that Bigfoot, they were referencing a Bigfoot DNA genome project that was done in the early 2000s involving Dr. Melba Ketchum.
Yeah.
And they are saying that Bigfoot is Nephilim confirmed.
Ooh.
Confirmed. And they're saying that it's because they're getting mitochondrial DNA that it can only be found from the mother and it can't be faked and blah blah blah. And if you know all the DNA stuff, it's very compelling. But if they just don't know the father, like the father is basically an unknown. But they're saying that it's Nephilim confirmed, which is, you know what Nephilim are supposed to be.
Of course. Yeah.
Yes. Okay. So how can they say that it's confirmed if the father is still unknown?
Good point.
To the testing.
Yeah, how would they know?
They don't. But they're making an assumption. They're like, because of this and and they make a good case for themselves, but the fact of the matter is that there is, I mean, you're talking about humans being hybrid with angels.
Sure.
I mean, come on. How can you say that's confirmed?
That is a little.
That is a little presumptuous.
Yeah,
now,
you can throw that out there, but nailing it down and saying, "Oh yeah, absolutely," come on.
yeah. Now, a lot of people say that about the forest people, and I can neither confirm nor deny that, but I don't make that assumption.
I'm a little surprised that no one's made a movie. I mean, come on, the government, their special programs. That's one of the first things they would do. They would say, okay, first thing, we're going to take heat sensors and just mow one down with a gunship and then examine the corpse. And then you go after one, see if you can get one alive. And then, you start working your way, up the ladder. But I have no doubt. I mean, I was living on, remember, Vancouver Island for a year. And that is like one of the most dense hotspots of sightings in the world. Is Vancouver Island, north of here, north of Seattle.
Yeah.
And yet Vancouver Island though is huge. It's monstrous. It might as well be its own. I mean, to say it's an island is just technical because it's just a huge thing with mountains and massive tracts of forests that have never been touched and old forests, stuff like that. So, oh yeah, I'm a big believer in that stuff. And again, you and I have talked about this. How I have 5 years ago. Yeah, it would have been tough to, for me to, I mean, people come up with all sorts of fun conspiracies. But now, are you kidding? I have no leg to stand on when people come at me with anything. It's like, oh yeah, the royals are made out of lizards and there's all sorts of, different, we won't go into the fringe stuff right now because it would take too long. But, I have to give them the time of day now. Like, yeah, what do you got? Sure. I'd be hypocritical if I just shot people down, no matter what it is, with the exception of, again, I know that people want Elvis to be alive, and who knows, there's some people say, oh, he was transported into another body or his consciousness. It's like, no, Elvis was an entertainer, and he did a whole bunch of drugs. He had a huge addiction problem. And, he had heart failure on the toilet and just keeled over. It wasn't a huge mystery. It wasn't a big conspiracy. I mean, watch some of his performances a couple of years before he died. Anyway, you know what? We should pick up. There's a call from Argentina that's been hanging around for a while. That can't be a cheap call. Let's pick him up real fast. You ready?
Okay.
Hey, Argentina. Sorry you've been waiting on the line 40 minutes. I'm not reimbursing you. What's happening?
No, it's okay, Mark. No, this is not expensive at all because I'm calling using Skype. So.
Oh, well, then I'm not worried about it.
No, Okay, great.
What's up?
First of all, I'd like you to remind me the phone number so I can call so I can just listen to the show. But I'm not gonna hang up like I did last time. Maybe I just can say that. Yeah, I know. This COVID stuff is wearing me out a lot. I'm like kind of lonely with this thing. I recently saw this Facebook post about the Captain America movie. A scene where they showed in the same image a Corona beer advertisement, in the street, like, I don't know where it was, but like a big ad. and the coronavirus image in the same street, you know, and another advertisement. And at this point, I'm afraid they're just changing everything that was seen once to fit to current conspiracy theories. You know, I just don't know what to believe, man.
Yeah, yeah. Confusion is the rule of the day right now. They have got people.
Yeah, that's right.
People very confused, and it's also very, very polarized. On top of it, you know, it's blue state versus
right.
red state, blue county versus blue county, and blue business versus red business. It is
That's what I mean.
Yeah, it's nutty out there. Between that and of course the protests as of late, which apparently are safe, even though you would think there would be this big spike in increases. You know, we were supposed to hear about the second wave, and we haven't heard about it. And lots of states are sneaking in. I can't speak for you guys, but over here we've got states that are kind of sneaking in because, like, look, they want to make money. They want to, you know, a lot of people have lost their businesses and lost their employments, and we've created a huge economic problem here. And so states are like, yeah, let's just quietly not report anything and get back to work. So.
Yeah, it's crazy. Well, listen, the government here, they have been like going through stages, like 15 days and 15 days, and they made the last stage for 15 days, and then 7 days later, I mean, last week, they made our last stage until June the 28th, you know? So it's the first time it's a whole month ahead of us. I was really pissed off about it because it's like, well, why? Why would you even give us that message? You know, and the message is clear: is you didn't behave. You didn't behave. You did not what we told you to do. You went to work. You went from it's not states, it's provinces. So it's you went from one province to another to work, and well, you carried the disease from that province to the other province. And it's like, well, we had to do it. And I kind of knew it all along. Yeah. It's not proof of anything that I knew it because it's what people do, you know. They have to work, they will do that thing. But it was going to happen. Unless you say, well, do what you will, and it will happen. Whatever has to happen, it will happen. And it was going to happen. I'm really pleased about that, but that's where we are right now in Argentina. I don't know if there's a country with less cases than Argentina, but we have a regime that's pretty strict. You know?
Got it. All right. Well, it's good to know. Well, thank you. Do you want me to put you back on mute so you can listen?
Sure, and you can tell me again the number so I can call you and you don't have to pick me up.
I can't. Peanut was telling me that we were having problems with that number up, but I'll give it to you anyway. It's 641 793 7117. That's the one on the website anyway. So it's 641 793 7117. That's the listen only line. But again, don't feel bad if I pick you up and if I pick you up, not just you, but anyone else that's out there, and you don't want to talk, you know, just say, "Oh no, I'm just listening." It's like, okay, we'll put you back on. All right. So you have
but I'll call this number so I get you in the contact list.
Okay. Thanks, man. Have a good one.
Love you, Mark.
Yep. All right. Let's jump over to 251. That may or may not be in Alabama. 251, it's you, me, and Karen B. What is happening?
Hi. Hey, is this Karen B. Secretary Mark?
Oh, boy.
Hey.
Yes, it is.
This is Mojo Shop. Hey, Karen B.
Oh, hey, Mojo. How you doing?
Yeah, good. Yeah, Randy. Well, I'm right now in West Virginia. I went through a little town called Flatwoods, and indeed it was.
Oh, Flatwoods. Mojo is. I'm sorry. Let me just explain to Mark who you are. I met Mojo and his wife. They're this retired couple, and they're now traveling around and they're meeting various flat earthers. And he messaged me on Skype, and I was like, sure. And so Ted and I went and met him and his wife, and we had a nice conversation. It was really cool. And he's been traveling north, right?
Nice.
Right. Yeah, cool. Yeah, I'm going to go visit my family all through Pittsburgh and then up in the Buffalo, Rochester area. And then I got to head back to Mobile. And Mobile Bay is flat.
Great. It should be.
Very cool.
Okay. Well, I'll let y'all get back to the real show now.
All right. Thank you.
All right.
Thanks, Karen. It was great meeting you and Ted, and I really enjoyed it. And someday we'll do it again.
Awesome. Take care.
You're all right. You too. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Yeah, whoever you are.
That's wonderful. Really, really, really good. I'm jotting down that number, 251. Phone number to call in is 213-233-3998. That's 213-233-3998. Operators are standing by, and you know what? Tonight may be your night to call because our phone lines are open as of right now. So there you go. So it's you and me, Karen. We should talk about other stuff. So let's continue down the whole Bigfoot thing. Do you believe there are differences? You know, because as you know, they've been, and Massachusetts calls in, but we'll pick up Massachusetts in a minute. Like outside, you know, you've heard the rumors. Kind of like Loch Ness has different versions, like in Lake Michigan and other bodies of water. And the same thing goes with the whole Bigfoot. We've heard of them being tracked in different places, different countries all over the world, including snowy realms. Do you go along with that? Do you does that jive with you?
Sure. Why not?
Yeah.
They can be found wherever they want to be.
Yeah.
I guess. I mean,
well, why not? That wouldn't shock me in the slightest. I
mean,
when
all the main continents that are the most inhabited areas, of course, they live anywhere people live,
yeah.
and sometimes where people don't.
Yeah, I when growing up, you know, because I'm a little older, back when Leonard Nimoy was hosting In Search Of, and there were all sorts of books, I was always fascinated. The two big ones, always when we were growing up, not even aliens. It was always, well, I mean, aliens was a whole separate thing, but there was always Bigfoot and the Loch Ness Monster. But Bigfoot also had its cousin, the Abominable Snowman, also known as the Yeti, which was in snowy environments. And that is like, oh, yeah, that's fine. That's kind of like cougars can live in the woods in California, and snow leopards live in caves in the snow. And it's like, well, why not? Wouldn't shock me in the slightest. So there you go. And as I'm saying this, all these calls. Zulu, why are you calling so early? We're not going to pick him up yet. We're going to let him sweat it. Let's go with 508. 508. You're on with Strange World. What is happening out on the East Coast?
Oh, it's World War III out here. You would not believe what is going on out here. It's unbelievable. So
what's happening?
There's right by me, right just outside Boston, but it's one of the boroughs, and there's an outdoor farmers market every this time of week, right? Yeah. So I go. It's my favorite farmers market. It's got organic food, fish. All the local farms bring, vendors from all over bring fresh produce to sell, all day. It's 80 degrees plus, sunny, gorgeous, not a cloud in the sky. And the entire public parking lot, it's in a parking lot, it's all gated off. And in order to get into this completely outdoor parking lot farmers market, you have to not only have a mask, but you have to agree to be sprayed with chemicals from an unmarked bottle by a stranger wearing a mask. And then they force you to wear a mask. And once I got in, because for some reason I agreed to get sprayed, it's just for hands and arms, right? But I instantly realized how horrifically wrong and the precedent this was. And so I took off my mask just calmly, and I went to go get some celery or whatever. And the woman who was running it came over and she just threw an absolute fit. If you're not going to wear a mask, you have to get out of here. I'm like, well, but I have a medical disability, and I was going to bring up that sheet, that card from right. And she goes, "What do you have? What's your problem? What can you not do?" And I'm like, "Well, technically, you can't ask." So we're going to call the police. We're calling the police. Absolutely not. Get out. We're going to follow you out. Get out. And so it was a giant issue.
Wow.
So the police came because I'm like, well, I might as well stick around for this.
So you actually waited for the
came,
cops?
Absolutely, but it took like 2 minutes, because I have other people, like I have these large other individuals saying, "What are you throwing a temper tantrum for? Just put on your mask." I'm like, absolutely not. What was the point of the hand spray, of the chemicals, so that I can take fresh cash out of my pocket that's dirty from God knows where and then pay? What was the point of the hand spray or the mask? I mean, and I'm trying to break down reason for them, using logic and proper vocabulary, staying calm. And they're like, "You're a man-child. You shouldn't even be allowed to get out." So the cops show up. And they rolled to me because they heard my description. So I was walking to them as they were walking to me, and they instantly got very aggressive. And they said, before I could talk, "We're just going to slap you with a $300 ticket." And I'm like, so very kindly, I have this medical disability. And then the other police officer, he had to restrain his partner. And he said, no, American Disabilities Act. We can't even ask what he has. Leave him alone. He's good. He's right. Just stop, right? So then I got an apology from both officers. Everybody in the market just looked over thinking I was about to get arrested. And instead, like, wait, what are they all talking and laughing about? And we hung out in front of everybody for an hour talking about Marxist theory, the end of the world, these people who don't think, don't know, don't want to know, have no idea what's going on. And I've called your show before. My grandmother, I was raised by Holocaust survivors, right? She's still alive. If I had called her and explained what I just did to get into this market, to agree to get sprayed with chemicals by a stranger wearing a mask just to purchase organic celery, she would have lost it. You know what I mean? And that's what's going on. But the officers, after, like, we're all great friends now, but they shared some interesting little tidbits of what else is going on around Boston, and it blew my mind. Not only is everybody trying to defund the police, which is obvious, but that creates other issues. But in order to solve the local homeless problem, they threw all of the local, like, very deranged criminals who are homeless in the area, threw them all inside the one high school in the area. They gave them whatever they need to stay calm, whether it's alcohol, a free, safe needle haven, or whether it is armed guards so they can do they're all in the high school. They're all just hanging out. They're getting their free, methadone. They're getting everything. Wow. And I'm like, it just so happens that my best friend in life, growing up, he's now the producer at Fox News, and I'm not going to say which location, but so we're going to start a podcast. I'm like, all right, folks, I got to interview somebody. I'm going to have a great podcast show in the next few weeks here. So they gave me a card. They're like, "You talk to the police chief. He'll talk to you." I mean, it'd be entertaining if it wasn't so horrific and scary, because you take off your mask around here, you're getting the cops called, no doubt, and they'll show up with energy.
Incredible. So in Massachusetts, and we're going to go on a break here in a minute. So in Massachusetts, you're required to wear masks, I'm gathering, in public, that when you're doing groups? Is that what it is, or is it all time?
No, it's not a law. It's if you leave your home, right? But it's just a suggestion. There is no law. Absolutely not. And all the cops know it. So as soon as you push back in the slightest, especially if you know your stuff, they will get out of the way instantly, because at the end of it, I said, "Okay, do you remember when you first showed up and you threatened me with $300 ticket?" He goes, "Yeah, but now that we all know what's going on, you could have taken that ticket, ripped it up in front of me, and as long as you found a receptacle and you didn't litter, you could rip it up in front of me." No, none of these people know that. And I'm like, it's 85 degrees out. What are we wearing masks for outside? I mean, this is
right.
And they threatened me at Whole Foods. They're like, "We're calling the cops." And I said, "Then you call the cops, because I'm going to be shopping for 5 minutes. I'll be waiting outside for when they show up." You know what I mean? And I've gone 4 times since. And every time I go, the same manager approaches me. He goes, "We found out how to deal with people like you." And I'm like, "With common courtesy?" We try that.
Nice. Hey, we got to go, but thank you for all the great information. Excuse me. And
enjoy your night. Thanks for that. Thanks for letting me talk.
Oh, no worries at all. Stay safe and call back next week, okay?
Will do. Thanks. Bye.
See ya. Back in 3. Don't go anywhere. Except you, Karen. You can go somewhere. Karen there?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Just checking.
Truth Frequency Radio is your number.
You are now tuned into the Truth Frequency.
Your protection from deception. This is Truth Frequency Radio.
Welcome back to Strange World, part 3 of 4. It's you, me, and Karen B. It's Colin's show. Phone number is 213-233-3998. That phone number again, 213-233-3998. Yeah. Peanut Gallery is saying that he's trying to remind me of a Hulu movie that he recommended to me recently, which was called, oh boy, I'm going to screw this up. The second part's Majestic Something. And it covers a lot of the secret space program. Well, secret technology program, let's call it that way. And it was interesting because there was something I hadn't even thought of, which was, as you know, the ISS, which is just plastic and aluminum, would never survive in such a huge pressure difference, like, between normal atmosphere and a vacuum. But you know what would? And that would be submarines. And they were talking about how the Germans retrofitted submarines because those actually would survive quite well in space. They're self-contained. You're just designed for a different pressurized, but they're so heavy you'd never be able to get them up for space unless you had a unified field engine, in which case they'd be wonderful for space if you could do that. Oh, Above Majestic, that's what it's called. And it was really intriguing to watch it, regardless of whether or not you believed in space. It was an interesting concept, which was, how far did the Germans go? At the very least, we know they were in Antarctica. But, how much technology, did they have access to? Not really sure. So, recommend to anybody that has access to Hulu. Do you have Hulu, Karen? Karen? Oh, she's getting a drink.
I do, but I don't really watch it. I don't know. I just don't watch very much TV.
I do at night, but that's just because I got to keep throwing something in there. During the day, I'm absorbing so much other media. It's kind of like a drug for me, in a way. Gotta have it. So anyway, Peanut recommended it to me. I didn't know. Honestly, I didn't know that until the so-called pandemic came out. I didn't really know much about streaming services. The alternatives. It's like everyone knows about Netflix and everybody knows about Amazon. But Hulu and Tubi and Peanut's gonna have to rattle off some of the others to me. There's a bunch out there though, but most people they buy Netflix and that's about it. So let's grab New Mexico. 505. What's happening out there in the Southwest?
Hello. How are
Hi.
you all?
Oh, things are going well.
Okay, this is Monica.
Hi.
Monica in New Mexico. Hi. And I'm mask-free in New Mexico and holding my ground here pretty well.
Good.
But I do have something to say. So I'd like to preface it with the fact that I spent 2.5 months in Ohio this past summer, and I got baptized there. And I spent it with a ministry. And there are more, it's a very small ministry, and there are more black people in the church than white people, okay?
Okay.
So I know sometimes when white people start talking about black and white, it's perceived as racist.
Sure.
And I mean, it's really obvious that right now the biggest thing in the news is George Floyd, correct?
And it seems to be the top billing right now.
Yeah. So I just, they don't have me convinced that the guy died.
Huh?
There was a fellow who was put to death in the same fashion in New Mexico in February. It's on video, it's on audio, according to the news. And he didn't get a king's funeral. He didn't have a gilded coffin. He didn't get any protests or riots or anything of that nature. So
Right.
I tried to research photos because every now and then a celebrity dies and somebody will sneak a picture. I know it's disgusting. Doesn't matter if you're black or white. I don't think anybody wants anyone to have a picture of, their deceased relative. However, I was unable to find any of those photos, and it seemed that people were at somewhat of a distance from the coffin. Nevertheless, originally being a Catholic here in New Mexico and part Italian, I've seen a few dead folks in coffins in my life.
Mm-hmm.
And, as your relative, obviously you can get close. I'm just saying that they've had 2 weeks to put a dead body together. So I think it's
Sure.
a pretty accurate or a pretty viable theory, and it doesn't have anything to do with being racist.
Oh, no.
Like that. I
No.
think it's,
I agree.
okay, thank you.
Yeah.
You're cool.
No, I'm right there with you.
Okay.
I mean, come on. The
Yeah.
being this is a conspiracy show, right? I couldn't
Yeah.
even begin. I couldn't even begin to shoot you down. 2, if you know anything about military history, I mean, the CIA has done far less to destabilize countries. I mean, you can create all sorts of conflicts in countries using instances just like this. If you want to stage
Yeah.
a race war or a faction war or a party
Right.
war, that's usually how it starts. You guys have heard me say this time and time again. Literally one of the oldest tricks in the books, and this goes back thousands of years, is to walk up behind somebody, hit them in the back of the head, and when they turn around, you point at the guy next to you. It's literally one of the oldest tricks in the book. We've all done it. Well, I shouldn't say we all done it. A lot of guys have done it when they're growing, when the kids in the playground. It is one of the easiest way to pick a fight. And so
yeah.
why not? I'm not going to say that it's here I want to make a comment. I'm going to add to your thing real quick. There was something that bugged me about the original video, and I didn't think about it until days later. And what it was, when I was watching it, there was something that didn't happen. And it went the entire length of the video. Guys, ever watch it with sound? That's the important thing. You know what? There was no cursing. There was no profanity during that entire clip. And that is really, really strange for a street video. And we've all heard them. It's like bleep, 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 bleep. You don't hear anything because it's always being buzzed out. So not only, and the guy that was filming it, for example, he kept calling the cop a bum. And I was thinking, wow, he's going light on him. It's like, what is this, a PG-13 video?
Yeah.
And he kept, at no point did he start swearing. The guy who, George, at no point did he start swearing. And, the cops weren't swearing. Usually there's all sorts of profanity that's happening, and it didn't. And the reason I believe is because, if you want to make sure the audio was really clear, you don't want any of that stuff in it. So it was, they made sure. And people say, well, that isn't proven. It's like, no, it doesn't, but it is kind of strange that you did.
It's suspicious. And I mean, heads up. The gas prices in the picture are not accurate according to very good sources. And a couple shows back, 2-3 shows back, can you still hear me?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, sorry, I'm getting a call and I'm ignoring it. A few shows back, you stated, I believe, that we were being terrorized by words, by text, right?
Yeah.
And this Sunday, I always listen to Pastor Dean Odell, who like him or not, he's a fellow flat earther.
Sure.
And this past Sunday, he had a guest pastor from Mississippi, Pastor Tony. I forget his last name. And so obviously he's a flat earther. And he mentioned the spirit of Leviathan. Leviathan is mentioned in the Bible 5 times. Leviathan was a giant sea monster. And he mentioned or alluded to the idea that Leviathan twists words. He attacks people's marriages. And now, in Pastor Tony's opinion, Leviathan is attempting to, demolish a nation with, lies and so forth. But anyway, the George Floyd thing, I ain't buying it. Sorry to anybody who doesn't.
No, that's fine.
Not you guys, but I apologize to anybody out there.
No, don't you dare apologize. Everything. Look, if one news thing is faked, the rest are suspect. So I've said it many times. Sorry, go ahead.
It just rolled out, so seamlessly.
Yeah.
And I was going to say something else and I lost it. Yeah, it rolled out so darn seamlessly.
Yeah.
And something about Pastor Tony, something that he said, I lost it. But yeah, Charles Manson, who thought that that raving lunatic would remember he was always saying about the race wars and stuff like that.
Right. All right. Well, hey, thank you for the call. Don't be a stranger, and it's good information. Thank you.
Okay. Good. Okay. Bye.
All right. Bye. All right. Let's jump straight over to.
Denodal sucks. I'm just gonna say that right now.
Well,
he called me a witch?
Yes, he did.
I'm a witch.
Denodal is not a friend to the show, and that's putting it lightly. He does not like me. He thinks that Karen, does the whole boil, bubble, toil, and trouble thing. And he is. I'll even might as well put it out there. He is in my book. Flat Earth Clues End of the World as the last member of the enemy of the state, meaning he does actually more harm than good to the Flat Earth movement. No offense to the caller. Hey, great. Glad you listened to him.
No offense to the caller. I'm not saying anything against her.
Nope. But he is not a friend to us.
But Denodal sucks.
I had coffee with the man. I never did a bad thing to him, and neither did Karen.
No, I never, and I would never say that about him, except for he made all kinds of accusations about me. He has never spoken to me face to face. He has never talked to me. He has never shook my hand.
Exactly.
I don't even believe that he's ever watched any of my content, because if he did, he would know that he would never see me actually performing any witchcraft ever at all whatsoever.
Exactly. And the fact that his youngest child was turned into a frog is just a coincidence. All right, let's pick up 845 real fast here. 845. Start spreading the news. I'm leaving today. I want to be a part of it.
New York. This fucking place sucks.
Damn it.
Crazy. It's crazy here, man. Just like Boston. It's absolutely nuts. People are out of their freaking minds.
What's happening?
Out of their freaking minds.
Well, how bad is it?
They're just crazy. I mean, my brother's still cleaning up New York City. He's a cop. He's like, these guys they just absolutely used it as an excuse to steal shit.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So they're dealing with that. Up here, everybody's wearing freaking masks.
How is your brother a little worried about this whole, anti-cop movement thing that's happening?
Oh, of course. And I have to say, F you, I'm sorry, but there are good guys. They didn't go into this to be dicks. They actually went into this to help people. And I know that. My brother's that way. I was that way. My dad. Cops people in the city where my brother worked when he first started remembered my father because he was in the neighborhood and he helped people. He wasn't a dick. He didn't bust balls. It's ridiculous the way that power shift has gone. And now it's immediately right to being a prick. And it's like, whoa. You don't have to handle anything that way.
Right.
You're supposed to respond. I understand you're supposed to be in control, but you got to respond to what's going on. You don't just fucking attack people. People are crazy everywhere. Yep. Both sides.
Yeah.
Hey, I just want to say to respond to your rant earlier. Yes, drugs. Yes, drugs.
Well, again, the drug the drug
surreal.
thing. The thing that caught my eye was, and come on, we've been thinking about this for so long, which is the Johnny Depp movie Blow from years ago, when he
My
was saying
wife
that
loves that movie.
it was a great movie. And when that point, there was a little part in the movie, which they didn't talk about much, where he basically he had a standing deal with the U.S. government. The government says, oh yeah, we'll protect you. We're taking a 70-30 split. We're going to take the 70 side, but you can run for as long as you want. And that's where the whole movie turned. Right. He goes, me keep 30% of my money. No, I'll take my chances. That's like, dude, you just admitted to him you were a drug trafficker. They're going to get you. Yeah. But the point was, this is the government wanted their cut. They realized early on, it's like, yeah, these anti-drug programs, they're not going to work. People are going to do drugs. We've been doing drugs our entire civilization. We've been doing different kinds of drugs. And we just stepped in and said, look, at the very least, we're gonna get paid for this. And I mean, Afghanistan, the perfect example. Afghanistan is the perfect place to grow heroin.
I think they do it with guns too. I mean, think about how.
Oh yeah.
They're so strict with guns. How the hell do all these guns get on the street? I just watched the thing. China, it's brilliant. I gotta say it's brilliant. They made a piece. They put Glock on it. It looked official. You clipped it on. You took the back plate off of a Glock 17, clipped this on, put it in place, and when you flip the lever, it would act like a Model 18, which is fully automatic, which fires 1,100 rounds a minute. You can have a 33-round mag. Totally illegal, but amazing
really?
Device.
Chinese came up with that? That's brilliant.
Absolutely.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was. They caught, or they found 200 of them so far, but who knows how many are out there.
Yeah, I never messed with that. It's one of those little things that they don't tell you in the rules of life, which is if you're caught with a machine gun, a grenade, or a sawed-off shotgun, depending on what state it is, you get 10 years. It's not not even up.
You're screwed.
It's not even up for debate. The judge says, sorry, it's mandatory 10 years. And, we'll see what happens after you're in there. But because they said, including silencers. And they say, if you go that far, it's so premeditated, they figure you're going to do something nefarious with it. So, anyway. But yeah.
Which sucks because Ruger makes a beautiful 22 Stinger, which comes fully set up as a silencer.
Yeah.
But the idea is so that you can practice and shoot without hearing protection.
Oh, yeah.
It's already made that way. It's a varmint rifle. It's 22.
Especially where I live, because I'm kind of in a...
Hello, Karen.
Hi, Zulu.
Love you.
Love you.
Karen, go ahead.
I hope you put a spell on that douche.
Oh, God, yes.
Dean? No, Karen would never do that.
No, he's not worthy. But where I live, where I'm like in the country, but I can still shoot in my backyard because there's like 50 acres of woods behind me, but there's houses like across the street. Yeah, it'd be great.
I'm bringing my toys.
The only caliber, I'll throw this out to both of you, that is truly silenced is a CIA weapon. I'm not saying because I had to train on it, but it's a 45 caliber single shot deal, and it's because the 45 is one of the only true subsonic rounds, and so literally when you pull the trigger, the only thing you hear is a click. It is that quiet.
Yeah, it's big and low feed that round.
Low.
Yeah, but
low,
very far.
Super low.
Stopping power. I carry 1911. I never thought I would. I have all Glocks. Always had Glocks. My dad nearly cried when I showed it to him that I bought it because he's a Marine and has had his since he was like 17.
Oh.
Yeah, and he was like, "You finally bought one," and I gave it to him, and he goes, "Watch this," and he closes his eyes, takes it all apart, puts it all back together. I was fully impressed.
Wow.
I can do that with a Glock, but I can't do that with my 1911 yet. I'm getting there. I'm trying. But Glocks
Nice.
are easy. They're all the same. They're all built exactly the same, just different sizes.
Nice. And by the way,
There's only
the
37 pieces.
the cop thing that the stuff that's the legislation which is hastily being written, it just drives me insane because
Retarded.
it's not as far as I can tell, it's not that they're trying to get rid of the police. They're trying to replace them with a new, better version of the police, kind of left leaning. And I'm just trying to figure out how they're going to pull that off. I was like, the police academy.
See, I was wondering if it's more like what I kept saying about how from the beginning they never got any direction. They were all over the place. Now this occurs. So this is the second thing. So 3 strikes, you're out. So what's the next event that's going to screw everything up?
Yeah.
And they're cutting money to cops. They're like, well, we're going to have to close this department, this department, this department. So that makes all those people now civilians.
Yeah. There's only so much.
Who's in charge now? Who takes over when there's another riot?
Yeah, no. Well, come on, man. In the big, especially where you are, full well the big cities cannot survive without law enforcement. I mean, the law enforcement's the only reason that the blocks aren't being controlled by various. I mean, there would be organized crime wars if the police left. That's the only thing that's stopping from the gangs from tearing each other to shreds. So, I mean, in other cities, not as much, but like Los Angeles, New York, Chicago, Atlanta, parts of Detroit, goes on and on and on. I mean, there are some places
You mean all the places where all the gangs were propped up by the CIA or whoever, just giving them all the shit that they got, all their guns, all their weapons, all their drugs.
Yeah, again, no one's pulling the cops out of it. It sounds from a left standpoint, oh yeah, it sounds like an interesting idea, but reality kicks in. It's like, oh yeah, by the way, what do we dial when something goes wrong? Yeah, it would be just be a nightmare.
Did that years ago. They got rid of cops or downsized, and they made it that you only call 911 for violent crime. The other stuff you had to go online and submit a claim, and they might get to it whenever they get to it.
Yeah,
fucking ridiculous.
Yeah, sorry. On a nationwide level, I don't necessarily want to use this movie because it's not perfect, but it is not that far off, and that would be The Purge. The Purge, which was an interesting concept. Interesting concept of a movie, never happened in real life because no insurance company would go along with it because the property damage would be just off the charts.
It could happen, but not like that.
Not like that. But I mean, we're all of a sudden, but it is kind of that way where it's like, where all of a sudden you say, oh, by the way, starting midnight tonight, the cops aren't going to be there. Oh God, it would be. I mean,
not good.
There would be a lot of horrible, horrible things. So no, I just don't. People
start protecting their own stuff.
Well, yeah, and the reason I thought of that was it's like everyone would have to buy a gun. Everyone
would have to buy a gun because there are good people. There are good people who would be put in a bad position if something like that really happened, i.e., women.
Yeah.
Ding, ding, ding.
Ex-husbands who are violent, who own weapons, who want to hurt them.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that's a wonderful point, Karen. When people, you think of the people that have restraining orders. Like,
yes.
That all of a sudden it's like, what? There's no one to enforce this?
There's like moms with children.
Oh.
I mean, come on.
I know. It's just
so then would the money be the third thing coming up? Because now they're saying let's open up and there's nothing to open up.
I don't know.
The businesses are like, well, we can't open.
Well,
so
some
is
businesses.
That going to be the third event, the third issue to destabilize?
Maybe.
I don't know, man. It's craziness.
The businesses that are opening up now, I can only give an example. Like there's a town not far from here that 11 shops have closed. They just closed right away, even before the restrictions, because they said, we're not going to be able to make it. And the ones that are going to open, well, they're kind of on a wing and a prayer, where they're thinking, okay, maybe we can do it. Maybe we can do it. But a lot of those aren't going to make it. And then what do you do? Then where do you go? I'm not sure. It's day by day now, and but I'm still holding out for something bigger. I know, just me. I'm still holding out for something a little more.
The alien thing would be interesting. I'd really like to see how they pull that off.
Yeah, me too. But I'll know it when I see it. I think everyone will know it when they see it, but I'll know when I see it.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. All right. Hey, real quick. How do you hunt wabbits without a gun? What the fuck is that? And I think Elvis is managing a Quickie Mart in New Jersey. I'm pretty sure I saw that guy.
Nice.
Freaking crazy. Hey, also interesting, the moon, Saturn, and Jupiter this evening are supposed to make some sort of triangle. I can't even see the moon yet.
Huh. Well.
So I don't even know.
That's
and
something.
No more cops? They're going to cancel that show?
Oh, you mean the show? Yeah, I know. Well, doesn't that make sense, though? Because out of all the shows, it's like the one show that its running thing was how many people can we pin to the ground in a single episode?
They should have canceled that show a long time ago, just like I thought it was. Like I thought that was just a dead thing already.
Oh.
Why do they still have that shit? I just.
They have that.
It ran
they
on
have
Fox.
Also,
it ran on Fox.
PD Live now.
It ran on Fox from 89 to 2014, and then on Paramount Network, I believe, for the last 5 years. I think it was Paramount. Peanut will have to kick in. Anyway, man, gotta go because we're going to go into our last break. So we'll talk soon.
All right. Hey, shout out to Karen, Mark Sargent, Dottie, Ron H-Town, Larry Stevens, Heather. Oh my God, everybody! I love you guys. Thank you, Mark.
All right, have a good one, man.
And I want to meet a Bigfoot someday. Bye.
He's kind of part Bigfoot anyway, isn't he?
He is.
He is, right? He's also part cuddle bear. He's so. All right, we're coming back. Last break. 213-233-3998. Call in. Talk about stuff. We'll pick up 214 after the break. Then probably bring in Master Gunner. Then pick up 276. Then whatever we got left. Oh, go.
You're listening to the Truth Frequency Radio Network.
No hate, no hype, no fear.
Welcome back to Strange World, part 4 of 4. It's you, me, Karen B. We're taking some calls. We're talking about whatever's on your mind. Let's before we grab Master Gunner, let's pick up 214. 214, you're on. What's happening?
You're toying with me, Mark. That 641 number in TFR Live does not. It might go through, but you can't listen. I wanted to let you know. Right? Yeah. And I was going to talk about J. Edgar Hoover, but considering we're talking about police tonight, in Dallas, July 7 of 2016, there were 4 police officers and a Dallas Transit officer ambushed, gunned down downtown Dallas. And I learned a year later they told him, the policemen, don't wear your protective gear because it's a little too militarized. So, and Michael Brown, Ferguson, baloney. Where that happened at high noon. Where were the pictures, the camera shots, all of this stuff? They did the trial, the transcript. That policeman acted properly in self-defense. And that's just making me furious. I'm so glad she called in from 505 because I just think this is just a bunch of baloney. I really do. And I love the police. They're, 1 or 2%, maybe not, but they love, they love America, and I love America. And this is just horrible, what they're doing to these men and women, but I just like men best.
Well, that's wonderful. You sound very enthusiastic.
I am when it comes to this kind of stuff.
All right. Anything else on your mind?
J. Edgar Hoover, do you remember the song Louie Louie by the Kingsmen?
Of course.
63?
Yeah.
Well, it was a lie. There were no bad word or words in there. That was a lie. And then 9 months later, President Kennedy was assassinated. And the year before that, in August of 62, Marilyn Monroe did not commit suicide. I believe the same men were involved in that were involved in President Kennedy.
Oh,
And,
I have little doubt about that. And Marilyn Monroe, for those of you who don't know, known affairs with JFK, and the question is, how much did she know? And was she willing to talk? And did they have her phone tapped? And she was the girlfriend after all. Bad things happen to mistresses. We've seen it time and time again.
Yeah, and Bill Truls has a really good. He's a surgeon from Oklahoma City area, and he did some things on that and about J. Edgar Hoover and her and the president. So he lets it up to your decision on that with the evidence. So anyway, I think that's it. Just
what?
That's it. Michael Brown. Sorry. Gosh darn it. Michael Brown, hands up, don't shoot. Look at the NFL. Look at what they're doing. That lie, absolute lie. And this bending the knee with these police officers, good grief.
Right.
And look what they've done in sports. I'm a college football fan myself, not a Texas team. It's another team. But look what they're doing, Mark.
Yeah.
Look at that golf, they're going to bend a knee. And policemen here were doing that and going up and being hugged by the protesters. And there's something very, very wrong about that.
Yeah.
And I don't mind saying, as you know.
I don't know. Again, it's a weird time. Things that are happening now, I would not have thought it would have gone this far. Again, we're just almost to the halfway point in 2020, and it's like, wow, what's the back half going to be like? It's gotten pretty nuts.
I'll end with communism, socialism, and Sharia law, and that will take care of it for me. Thank you.
All
Hi,
right.
guys. Hello, Karen and Tim. Okay, bye.
Bye, Jan.
Bye, Jan. Hi, Jan. Love Jan.
Jan's great. Love Jan to death.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Let's bring in Master Gunner Brian Burton. Are you there, man?
I am here.
I would imagine you being a military man and a family man and all sorts of other things. Imagine you've got opinions on what's been happening as of late.
Well, I missed a little bit because I just got unturned from a newt. Thank you, Karen, for turning me back into a person.
You're welcome.
All right, I got 3 quick things happening right now.
Okay.
First of all, one, ironically, something you were talking about started to happen about 30 minutes ago. So the Georgia primary election was today, right?
No, I did not know that.
Yes.
I caught some of it, but I didn't realize that it was actually a primary.
So that's happening today. The polls just closed a little while ago. They're already investigating fraud.
Okay.
Because people are standing in line for hours and whatnot. Now, remember, this is a primary. That means they're voting for, the Democratic Party.
Right.
And they're already investigating themselves for fraud.
Lovely.
That was quick.
Hey, if you don't spend that, lose it.
Yeah. So second thing just flashed across, a National Guard that was in the Washington protest has the C word. That's breaking news right now.
Wait, what?
What?
One of the National Guard guys that were protecting the White House and everything else, from the protesters and all involved in all that, well, I'll call them rioters, has come down with the coronavirus.
Really?
Yep, MSNBC right now. Yeah.
I don't know if they're gonna blow that up or not.
Probably not. Well, it's not on CNN or Fox. I mean, the funny thing is, so MSNBC's running that, CNN's running the Georgia election thing, and Fox is running whatever they're running. I don't know. People with blonde wigs, but none of the three are talking to each other. I mean, none of those three are in each one of. They're all separate. Fox doesn't have that, or CNN doesn't have any of the other ones. So it's like the media stream's dividing itself too, trying to find their own stories for a change. I don't know. It's a weird world. I blame Karen.
Why wouldn't you?
That's just too easy.
Karen and her coven, I'm sure, is responsible for most of this.
Well, I got, and as Karen knows, I have a problem with Bigfoot.
Yeah.
Do you?
I do, because he's got 2 feet. So isn't it big feet? Why you call him Bigfoot? I'm confused. I'm really confused on that.
Isn't it a Native American term? Is that what they came up with it? Like
Casino American, say it properly.
Casino American. Isn't that where it came from?
Casino American. Oh my God.
What?
I can say that. I'm allowed.
I'm sorry. Anyone? I don't want to get into the whole race thing. Anytime anyone starts down the race thing, I say, yeah. Well, and because look, I worked with the American Indians, Native Americans for years with the whole fireworks thing. It's like, yeah, why don't we talk about them? No, nobody wants to talk about them.
Well, I did see last week when actually it was in your state, Mark, in Washington, when they were marching down a highway or something.
Yeah, they got into it as well.
That was weird, though. They were dancing, leading the protest in their full headdress and all that. And
yeah.
That was weird.
That surprised me. I was like, really? Usually they don't get involved with stuff like this.
Yeah, that was a weird. Well, here's the thing I've noticed: if you don't get involved, it's almost like if you're not involved on their side, then you're against them, and you get get canceled. Isn't that the proper term nowadays?
Canceled.
Well,
yeah.
There was, and I highly recommend. What was his name? Tucker Carlson last night. That his monologue was really interesting. I know he's from Fox, but that was a long monologue he did.
Oh yeah, he was very, very motivated. No question.
It was pretty good.
And why shouldn't he? I mean, the nation right now is currently off the rails. There's a lot of stuff happening that a lot of things being proposed that are not being thought out at all. And kind of like you're trying to create this utopia, but you have no framework for it whatsoever, and you're basically relying on your group alone. It's like, oh yeah, all the protesters would be absolutely in the best behavior, and so will everyone else. What do you mean?
Well, for the record, this has been done before, which is I'm shocked that the left hasn't, or whoever's doing the moves. I'm not gonna say the left because I think the left lost control. This has been done before. They replaced the police once before in another country with brown shirts. Yeah. That one little country that great at making cars.
Yep. So, that didn't go. You mean Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Some of the parallels, like the earlier call where people are snitching on everybody else. And
it just amazes me how quickly people forget history and they repeat it. I always thought that was a funny statement, but I'm watching it happen.
Well, it's one of my favorite movie lines. It's the doom of man that he forgets. And yeah, we tend to, which is why history is so important to get it right and for people to learn at least some aspects of history. Because look, this is what happened. These are the things that happened. Do you really want to do this again? And yeah, we'll see.
Yeah,
We'll
they
see.
get bored.
I'm hoping this will die down fairly soon, and we can focus on, I don't know what the next thing is going to be focusing on, second wave, the election.
Well, the quote right stuff and all that I think will die down, much like the pandemic died down there for a minute.
Yeah.
Now, will they bring a third thing in and bring everything in together? I don't know. Honestly, I have no theories of what's going to happen because I am lost. And
Yeah.
I think the powers that be on the media are lost too.
Yeah, you're right.
I think they're all running off script and not sure what to do.
Yeah, they have to change the websites every hour. Basically, they've got to keep updating. It's okay. What's trending right now? Right this second. What's trending right now? Usually, you didn't have to say that very often during the day, but now you do because there's just all the different stories that are coming out. It's like who's done what, who's tweeted what, who, because now you're digging. You're going out. Okay, who's racist? Who's not racist? Election issues, the virus issues. What states are cracking down hard? What police atrocity has happened in what city? Like,
well, here's something so I'm a big NASCAR fan, of course.
Yeah.
I like watching things go around in circles. I don't know. But
yeah.
So Sunday I was amazed because real quick, NASCAR started, the cars got in the pace car getting ready to go. The pace car stops, all the cars stop in the middle of the track after one lap.
Right.
And they have the president of NASCAR or whatever comes on, says some words, and they all take, a minute kneeling and whatnot for the protest and all that, which just shocked me because this is NASCAR we're talking about. Let's be honest. And then the NFL football guy, president of the NFL, made their statement.
Yeah.
So that threw me off. And then that mayor from Minneapolis. He was from Minneapolis, right?
Oh yeah. The mayor was the worst. For those of you who have not watched it, the mayor by himself, again, bravery or just angels rush in fools rush in where angels dare to tread. He walked into the middle of the mob, and when they asked him point blank if he would back disbanding the or dismantling or whatever they called it, abolishing, yeah, the Minneapolis Police Department, he said no, he wouldn't. And they basically ran him out on a rail. It's like, I was amazed they didn't start throwing stuff at him. And
it was.
And he had to basically run out of the crowd on his own. And it's like, what were you thinking going on here?
But remember, he is a left side mayor, far left mayor.
So he thought that, that would give him some traction.
Probably, but the point is the left is eating the left.
Yeah. Yeah, they are.
I mean, everyone's just eating everybody. And the last thing I'm going to put out, which was funny as heck, that came across was, so in 1989, Trump, our president, was on an interview, and I'm going to quote this. He said, black men and women have it far easier to get a job. The news are all pulling that up right now.
Then what?
Than a white person.
Well, considering I was in staffing for a number of years, literally in staffing, I can tell you right now that
I gotcha.
Was not the case.
I gotcha.
I mean,
but they got the president on video in 1989 saying that, and I'm just thinking, wow, because I saw this thing, some guy that show The Flash, the DC thing or whatever, was just fired.
Oh yeah. Well, hell, let's go down because I want to talk about some, and I want your opinion on this, Karen, if you get a chance. The J.K. Rowling thing. I've got to mention this.
Oh yeah.
So this wasn't a race thing. This was the whole transgender thing, where she comes out and basically kind of poking a little fun, saying that I can't remember exactly the details. I don't want to get into the gross stuff, but something along the lines of if you can menstruate or not, and she was coming up with weird terms, and the transgender were coming at her, saying you're being insensitive, blah blah blah, and she's going, look. She goes, I've championed transgender for a long time. She goes, but facts are facts, right? And then the media, of course, picked up on it, and they got Daniel Radcliffe, Harry Potter himself, to come out against her. This goes into your whole, they're eating each other. Mm-hmm. So they're attacking each other. This like, oh my God, you guys are killing me. No one brings up the biggest argument of all. And I know we have a little time. I've got to mention this since I've already brought up so many other topics tonight. I might as well throw this out there. When it comes for me and transgender, hey, look, all God's children. However, there was one thing that really, really bugged me recently, at least this year, and that was the whole athletics thing. Which was, and I'll give you a perfect example for those who don't understand, and that is in high school, I played basketball. Wasn't half bad, made it to state, and we did pretty well. However, if I self-identified as a woman, right, just put a wig on and whatever I had to do, and then joined on the girls' team, I could have cleaned freaking house. I would have been all state, maybe even gotten a scholarship. So the question is, if I would have gotten that scholarship and would have taken away from an actual woman, would that have been unfair? You bet it would. And so that's where transgender, draws the line for me. It's like, you can do whatever you want. Don't you even think about getting, switching though to get into athletics, because that's just straight up fraud. I mean, if that was the case at that point, what's to stop NBA players when they hit about, 37, 38 from switching to the WNBA? And just wearing a wig and identifying as a woman. So they could play an extra 10, 15 years. So what do you think, Karen? Transgender? Yeah? You think there's a line that should be drawn, or do you think it's fair game all the way around? Got an opinion on this?
She fell asleep.
No. I'm well, no, I think everything is fair game, to be honest.
Yeah.
Everything's fair game. However, and I agree with Mark. I have friends that are transgender,
Yeah.
I grew up around that, growing up in the San Francisco Bay Area. And as weird as it was, I don't care what people choose to do with themselves, but there's definitely an agenda, and there's definitely things that should not happen, i.e., drag queens reading storybooks to children in the libraries, or
that could get a little dicey.
Having story time with children about the two princes. This is stuff that they don't really need to think about or be involved in. They just need to learn how to read, learn how to write, learn math. That's, learn, basic biology, learn about observing the world around them. They don't need to worry about sex and all that stuff. So there is something going on with that, in my opinion.
Basic biology, that's awfully confusing nowadays. It amazes me a side.
You're like, this is a boy, this is a girl.
Yeah. A side that picks, you've got to look at the science of this and the science of that, like climate changes, and they'll always reference that. And then they do that, gender's fluid. Well, no, there's a science behind that too. So I love how they pick and choose their battles of what they call science.
Well, they manipulate it. Obviously, they manipulate it to fit their agenda.
Well, obviously.
Jeez.
I mean, the other thing, which again, I look, all God's children, you guys you can put whatever you want on your driver's license. The problem comes, you guys heard this from me before, with the whole drunk driving test, which is if you're pulled over for drunk driving, and let's say you're going to jail, right? And you're transgender, they're going to ask you. It's like, okay, what do you identify as? Because there's only two jails, right? There's male jails and there's female jails. And again, if you have male genitalia, you're going to the male jail. Now they may put you in a special wing, which it does exist in certain jails, special wing, but you're not, just because like, no, I feel like a woman. You're not going to the woman's jail. You're not. And you can't say, oh, well, there should be a third jail or 10 different jails or 17 different jails or whatever. You're just not.
They
only
had
go
that
so
problem
far.
in the military.
Yeah.
We had that problem in the military.
Military.
Because, you have your barracks and where you sleep and all that.
Wow.
And then it came to the point of how do we add more? It's cost. You can't just keep adding buildings for what is there? Something like 1,000 different types of genders now, supposedly, or something? Some outrageous numbers. Yeah, there is. Check it out. It's kind of like that abbreviation QB. What LGBT? They keep adding
LGBTQ plus. We'll just say that.
No, you can't.
But I don't call it that. I just call it I just say it's the pride group, pride movement, because that's what they call it used to be the gay pride parade. Now it's just the pride parade, and that's because they just can't say all the letters parade because no one's gonna get it. It's not catchy. Sorry, it's not. It's the pride parade now. Fine. It's actually shorter. It's true. They renamed it, but they actually did that one right. Because no one could agree on all the letters for the parade. Plus, it's tougher to say when you're chanting. So they just decided to do it with pride. Whatever. Anyway, hey, we got to wrap this one up in a bit. So, Karen.
Yes.
How can people reach you?
People can reach me. What do you mean? What?
Well, I mean, are you still doing your podcast with
Brian?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Me and Brian Stavely do shows every Thursday at around 9:30 ish Eastern time on my channel and his channel, Karen B and Brian Stavely.
Cool.
We alternate back and forth. And we also do other streams intermittently throughout the week sometimes.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. And the people should probably subscribe. I don't think we ever really say that. They should subscribe to your channel, which is
Karen B.
Karen V. That's nice.
And I'm on live.
Right on. Right on. I just added some of your videos. I've been making new playlists. I've been cleaning up my channel, blowing out all the old meetup promos. I had so many videos. I was pushing the better part of 2,000. So I killed off hundreds of the really short, redundant ones and added new playlists.
Videos?
The what?
On just promo videos?
No, I had 300 and something promo videos, which are gone. I know that was a lot. Meetup videos from past meetups, which I kept in there. It took me forever to go through them, but I added some playlists and some of your stuff. I mean, some of your stuff is already in my short list for new people. And I added a new playlist called Tests, Experiments, and Observations. And for people that want, and so some of your stuff is on there and other people's experiments. And it's a great little list. It's a reference list for people. It's like, what have you guys been doing? Well, this is what some really cool stuff we've done so far. So, plus I have a new playlist for rants and another one for just odds and ends. So.
Nice. People have very much been enjoying your rants.
Well, I've been inspired this year, as you know. I mean, I can't help it. I mean, there's so much stuff happening. If I don't do a rant, I'm going to just shoot somebody.
Man, this stuff writes itself.
It does. You don't have to sell this stuff. This stuff here sells itself. Yeah. All right, we got to go. We'll be back next week, same flat time, same flat channel. Cue music. Say goodnight, Karen.
Night.
And remember, everyone, there's always time for hot sex. That's right, I said it. Not backing down either. Casino Americans.
Feathers.